The Florida football program is again charting a new coaching course. As speculation began to swell over the weekend, reports surfaced Sunday that UF was set to fire Jim McElwain as its head football coach. Early Sunday evening, the university confirmed as much as it was officially announced that UF and McElwain had mutually agreed to part ways. "We want to thank Coach McElwain for his efforts in leading the Gator football program," athletic director Scott Strickland said as part of a very short and blunt statement on the development. Not long after official word of his demise became public knowledge, McElwain released a statement on his personal Twitter account. pic.twitter.com Nerjerskulls, Jim McElwain at Coach McElwain October 29, 2017. In his first 2 seasons with the Gators, McElwain went 198 and won the SEC East each year. UF started the 2017 season 31, including 30 in conference play, before suffering back-to-back league losses. The back end of that 3-game losing streak was an embarrassing loss to rival Georgia that, combined with the death threats imbroglio, proved too much for the in-over-his-head McElwain to survive. On the same day reports broke about the pending removal of Jim McElwain as head coach at Florida, it seems there are now some rumblings coming out of Knoxville, Tennessee regarding the future of Butch Jones. According to a report from SEC Country, Tennessee officials are meeting to discuss the future of the program. This news comes one day after Tennessee lost to Kentucky to fall to 35 on the year, with all 5 losses coming in conference play. The loss to Kentucky was just the second loss to the Wildcats since 1985, thus marking what could only be viewed as a new low for the Vols as a football program that continues to take steps backward. Having missed out on a golden window to take advantage of the SEC East in recent years, Jones stuck to his own gimmicks and slogans in an attempt to keep things on steady footing. Decent recruiting classes also failed to live up to expectations for the program in terms of winning, as the Vols have gone 3,326 in 4.5 seasons under Jones. The tension has been tightening almost on a weekly basis, so it may have only been a matter of time before the powers that be in Knoxville finally decided to cut the cord and move on in a new direction. Though there is no formal announcement at this time, the proverbial writing could very well be on the wall. Follow at KevinOnkFB. Needing 2 wins just to become bowl eligible in the final month of the season, UCLA needs to be as close to full strength as they can in order to reach the postseason. Having quarterback Josh Rosen leave Saturday's game at Washington with a hand injury was a reason to start thinking about hitting the panic button, and a 4,423 defeat certainly did not help. But a day later, it appears the status of Rosen is to be considered a bit more fortunate than the worst-case scenario. Bruce Feldman of Sports Illustrated reported via Twitter Rosen's hand injury is not considered serious, which suggests Rosen may still be available for the Bruins down the stretch. Source: UCLA star QB Josh Rosen's hand injury from yesterday's game is expected to be okay, but staff will monitor as week progresses. Bruce Feldman at Bruce Feldman FB October 29, 2017. At this time, it is unknown if Rosen will miss any playing time, but the initial report from Feldman should be encouraging. Rosen has thrown for 2,713 yards and 20 touchdowns this season. UCLA plays at Utah on Friday night this week. UCLA also hosts Arizona State, visits USC, and hosts Cal to wrap up the regular season. With 4 games remaining and 2 games back in the Pac-12 South standings in the loss column with a head-to-head tiebreaker going to Arizona, UCLA's slim chances of winning the Pac-12 South are still there but have just about faded away. Follow at KevinOnkFB. Alabama's stranglehold on first place in the AP Top 25 was largely uncontested during a bye week, but there was some movement below them through the entire AP Top 25 this week. With number 7 Penn State and number 10 TCU each falling following losses, the top 10 has a bit of a new look that features number 2 Georgia and number 3 Ohio State standing in line behind the Crimson Tide. Number 1 Alabama received 59 first-place votes, with number 2 Georgia receiving the other 2 in this week's AP vote. Number 3 Ohio State moved up 3 spots following the win against Penn State, who fell 5 spots this week. Number 4 Wisconsin moved up 1 spot, and number 5 Notre Dame was bumped up 4 spots following a second straight week with a win over a ranked opponent. Number 6 Clemson also wiggled ahead of Penn State as the Nittany Lions took their fall from number 2. The AP voters appeared to give Penn State the benefit of a higher quality loss to stay ahead of number 8 Oklahoma, this despite Ohio State defeated the only team to beat Penn State this season, Ohio State. Meanwhile, the Sooners' only loss continues to look better by the week, with number 14 Iowa State moving up 11 spots this week following a win over number 10 TCU. Horned Frogs fell 4 spots. Number 9 Miami completes the top 10 in the AP poll this week. No. 20 NC State fell 6 spots following their loss at Notre Dame. Number 21 Mississippi State and number 23 Arizona each break into the AP poll this week following wins. Despite road losses, number 24 Michigan State and No. 25 Washington State remain in the top 25 this week. AP Top 25 Alabama 59 First place votes Georgia 2 Ohio State Wisconsin Notre Dame Clemson Penn State Oklahoma Miami TCU Oklahoma State Washington Virginia Tech Iowa State UCF Auburn USC Stanford LSU NC State Mississippi State Memphis Arizona Michigan State Washington State Follow at Kevin FB. After a couple of days of intense rumors, it appears Jim McElwain has come to the end of the road as Florida's head coach. McElwain has been fired as head coach of the Florida Gators, as first reported by Football Scoop. Florida has since officially announced the decision to mutually part ways with McElwain. According to the report from Football Scoop, the decision to part ways between the program and the head coach were made today. Rumors over the weekend speculated that discussions were ongoing to focus on potential negotiations revolving around removing McElwain, with the two sides reportedly not being very close on any agreement. After those reports surfaced, Florida then proceeded to be run over by Georgia in Jacksonville, 427. McElwain compiled a record of 2,212 in his 2.5 years on the job at Florida. The Gators made back-to-back appearances in the SEC championship game, but the Gators never seemed to develop offensively under McElwain's run. Florida had gone 21 against Georgia, 11 in bowl games and 0-2 against Florida State, with no real hope for a brighter future in sight. McElwain also got himself in some troubled water in the past week by mentioning alleged death threats he had received this season. That was later brought into question with little support. Florida, at 34-33 in SEC play, must win 3 of their final 4 games to go to a postseason bowl game. Update: Florida has officially announced they have mutually agreed to part ways with McElwain. Assistant coach Randy Shannon will take over as interim head coach. Follow at Kevin FB.